Some sins don't sink in the swamp. They just wait for the tide to bring them back. 15 years ago, outside Bayou Croix, Louisiana, the cicadas screamed at night as Chinedu Diallo stood knee-deep in the black water, dragging his cousin's body through the mud. A lantern swung from his trembling hand, casting long, dancing shadows across the cypress knees. "I didn't mean for this to happen, Kofi," Chinedu whispered, tears cutting tracks down his dirt-streaked face. "You were supposed to be the careful one, not me." Kofi's body had been crushed under the old rigging when the storm hit their fishing boat. No one else had seen. In his panic, Chinedu wrapped the body tight in white burial shrouds, the traditional way his people had done for generations back in West Africa, then tied the knots too hard, too fast. He rode deep into the forgotten family burial ground on the isolated spit of land locals called Dead Man's Reach. He didn't say the prayers. He didn't loosen the bindings. He didn't plant the marker facing east toward the rising sun. Chinedu just dropped the body into the soft, sucking earth, covered it, and rode away like the devil himself was behind him. From that night on, something started moving through the bayou that didn't belong among the living. Present-day New Orleans, Louisiana. Jabari Diallo woke up screaming again in his downtown apartment. The sheets were soaked. His heart hammered against his ribs. His fiancée Aisha held him tight. "Baby, it's the same dream?" "Not a dream anymore," Jabari muttered. He was standing at the foot of the bed, wrapped head to toe in white, water dripping, whispering my name. The nightmares had started 6 weeks ago. Then came the wet footprints on the hardwood floors, the sound of dripping water from the ceiling at 3 a.m. And last night, the figure had reached out and touched his face with ice-cold fingers. The psychiatrist called it trauma. Jabari knew better. He called his mother's sister back home. "Auntie Ngozi, I'm coming back to Bayou Croix." The line was silent for a long moment. "Jabari, some doors should stay closed, child." The drive down the old highway felt like traveling backward in time. Spanish moss hung like funeral veils from the trees. By the time Jabari's truck rattled onto the gravel road leading to his family's weathered shotgun house, the sun had bled out across the bayou. Aunt Ngozi met him on the porch, her face lined with more worry than age. She hugged him fiercely but wouldn't meet his eyes. Inside, the house smelled of gumbo, candles, and something faintly like river rot. Uncle Chinedu sat in the corner, rocking slowly, eyes glassy. When he finally looked at Jabari, his voice came out hoarse. "You brought him back with you, didn't you?" Kofi always did love family reunions. That night, the whispers started. Jabari lay in his old childhood bed when he first heard it, soft, bubbling voices coming from under the floorboards, like someone trying to speak underwater. He sat up. The whispering grew louder, forming his name. He crept to the window. Out by the treeline, where the water met the land, stood a tall figure wrapped in dripping white shrouds. It raised one arm and pointed directly at him. Jabari stumbled backward. The figure began walking, slow, deliberate, straight across the water's surface toward the house. He screamed. Uncle Chinedu burst into the room with an old machete in his hand. "Stay behind me, boy!" Chinedu charged outside, swinging wildly at the air. The shrouded figure moved unnaturally fast, vanishing into the cypress before Chinedu could reach it. But not before Jabari saw its eyes, milky white, filled with centuries of sorrow and rage. The next morning, over strong chicory coffee, Auntie Ngozi finally told the truth. "Your uncle and your cousin Kofi were out on the boat during that big storm. Chinedu was drinking heavy, arguing about the nets. Kofi tried to warn him. A big wave hit wrong. The rigging snapped and crushed your cousin. Instead of bringing the body back proper, your uncle panicked. He buried him quick on Dead Man's Reach without the full rites. No prayers. No loosening the shroud. He even put the marker at the wrong end." Aunt Ngozi's hands shook as she poured more coffee. "In our tradition, that creates what we call the bound soul. A spirit that can't cross over. It doesn't rest. It wanders. And it waits for the living to make things right, or it starts taking them instead." Jabari felt sick. Why is he showing himself to me? Because blood calls blood, baby. Kofi doesn't want revenge on you. He wants the truth known. He wants to be properly laid to rest. The final night shattered everything. It started with every door in the house slamming at once. Water poured from the ceilings like rain. The whispers became screams. Angry, gurgling, ancient. Jabari and Auntie Ngozi ran outside to see Uncle Chinedu standing at the edge of the bayou, machete raised, facing the shrouded figure that now stood only yards away on the water. "You took my cousin," Chinedu bellowed. "Now you come for my nephew?" He charged. The bound soul moved like liquid shadow. It grabbed Chinedu by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Chinedu's eyes bulged as he was dragged, screaming, into the black bayou waters. The surface barely rippled as they both disappeared. Jabari and Ngozi searched with lanterns until sunrise. They found only Chinedu's machete stuck in the mud, and a single strip of wet, yellowed burial cloth tied around the handle. 2 weeks later, Jabari brought a respected elder from the Louisiana West African community. They performed the full traditional rites at the old grave on Dead Man's Reach, untying the knots that should never have stayed tight, speaking the prayers that should have been said, turning the marker to face the rising sun. That night, the whispers stopped. Jabari still lives in the old house with Auntie Ngozi. Sometimes, when the moon is full and the bayou is still, he hears a soft, peaceful voice carried on the wind. His cousin's voice, whispering thank you before fading into the night. But he never goes near Dead Man's Reach after dark. Some waters don't forget. If the story sent chills down your spine and kept you reading till the end, you're in the right place. Welcome to Eerie Narratives. Real feeling horror drawn from cultural roots, family secrets, and things that should have stayed buried. Smash that like button if your pulse is still racing. Share it with someone who loves atmospheric Southern horror with a cultural twist. And subscribe right now with the bell on, because the next story might be closer than you think. Lock your windows, check your family stories, and sleep tight if you can.